You mentioned earlier and that you've been looking into a former pastor who ended up fleeing the country to London after he was convicted of sexual assault. What happened there, and what was the church's involvement?
I can tell you everything about that, and it's a very interesting situation because of the fact that my bail bond company was the company that actually bonded him out of jail. And what had happened is that I have a copy of the actual affidavit, which is only one page, but in any event, if I could just read a real short portion of it, I can tell you exactly what happened. This is prepared by a detective from the police department here. Said I interviewed Steve Evans. Steve Evans told me that on, if you want the date, I can give it to you, January of 99, he was a youth minister for a local Christian organization. Steve Evans accepted a 14-year-old boy into his Colorado Springs home. Steve Evans told me that the boy's mother and father were separated, did not want the child. Steve Evans told me that in January 99, he was under pain medication from a shoulder operation. Steve Evans told me that he had gone into the son's room, his son, natural son, mind you, laid on the floor with his son and the 14-year-old boy from the church. Steve Evans told me then he then touched the boy on his penis with his hand. Steve Evans stated this was skin-to-skin contact. Steve Evans told me that he reported this incident to the president of the Christian organization. In a later interview, he just blurted out that in 1989, while on a mission trip to Taiwan, he had another incident of sexual contact with a young boy. I interviewed the president of the Christian organization, Mr. Gary Black. Mr. Gary Black told me that Stephen Evans had told him of contact with this 14-year-old boy. Mr. Black stated that Stephen stated he was under medication, that touching did occur in the Evans home. Stephen had initially touched the child on the penis. After the 14-year-old boy had pushed away, he then returned to the boy and touched him on his penis a second time. This case was reviewed by John Newsom of the District Attorney's Office and found to meet requirements for filing. Based on the above facts, they issued a warrant. But he also, in a police report, admitted to having incestuous contact with his 14-year-old son and 15-year-old daughter. So
he was allowed to remain at the church even after he admitted to this?
If I could real quick, he was booked into jail, okay? He received a $10,000 bond. At the jail, they asked him what he did for work. I have a copy of the booking sheet right here. He said that he is a self-employed website designer and that he works out of his home, which was totally not true. He was a pastor at New Life Church.
What role did the church play in his parole?
Well, it's interesting because in the plea agreement, he was sentenced to that he would go to restoration and that he would be treated for this problem.
Now, restoration, before you go further, that's a word that was used after Ted Haggard was revealed to have, had gone to Mike Jones and all of that. The whole story came out. Mike Jones revealed that he had been paid by Ted Haggard. Focus on the Family's James Dobson was going to participate in it, but he didn't do it.
He bowed out.
The restoration was where they were going to, sort of restore him back to heterosexuality. Now, go on about the restoration of Steve Evans and who was going to take
the exact words were that he would, defendant be placed on 5-year supervised probation as a condition of his probation, no criminal violations. Let me get it right here. That he was, quote, to remain at the family center and participate in all offense-specific treatment for sexual perpetrators and cooperate with all ongoing treatment recommendations, no contact with the victim, no contact with any minor under 18, including his own children, supervised visitation with his own children when approved by a therapist and upon appropriate documentation and recommendation by probation officer. Placement on specialized probation caseload for sexual offenders, comply with terms and conditions of dependency and neglect case. And obviously that was in 1999, and on to December November 26, 2001, the probation department filed a complaint for revocation of his probation, at which time he became a wanted man. Okay, there were certain guidelines, which I have the sentencing agreement here, that he was supposed to pay restitution. That didn't happen. He still owes $2,947. He was supposed to go by all of the terms as set forth in the sentencing agreement. I do not have the actual violation in front of me that says exactly what he did violate, other than the fact that on October 26th that a complaint for revocation was filed, and at that time a warrant was issued, and he has been wanted and is still wanted here in El Paso County, Colorado Springs.
So what is it that you think happened here? Why he's gone, and what happened, and why it's relevant?
My investigation is that he's relevant, and that's where this thing started, is because of the things that he obviously he was aware of. He was a part of the church. He is a convicted, confessed pedophile. He was arrested in 1999.
And do you think the church spirited him out of the country? Is that it?
I think that's where my investigation is definitely leading, absolutely.
That basically he has jumped parole here, and that the church aided and abetted that?
And I think that they definitely assisted him in getting to England.
Mm-hmm. And they did that because they didn't want him talking? Or?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Because of, and also where my investigation goes is that, he admits back in 1989 he had this with this young man. So in all this...
And all of this has been covered up, not reported at all.
Exactly.
Just one question about... I've just been amazed that you're investigating this, and it's taken you investigate this, that you felt compelled to do it. Where is local law enforcement? Where is the state? Why aren't we seeing them focused on this? Is there influence in Colorado Springs on law enforcement by all of these mega churches, which really have enormous power there?
Yeah, obviously, and I'm not saying that anybody. Let me just preface real quick. We have a brand new district attorney that was just voted in a couple of weeks ago. He's taken a very, very close look at the Steve Evans situation. Unfortunately, there's a monetary problem everywhere in the United States, and it will cost a lot of money to bring Steve Evans back. But my problem is, and what I keep preaching, is that I'm worried about that since 1989, he admits that he has been, has this fixation with young boys. He's been in England all these years, Obviously, my guess is that it's been continuing over there. So he needs to be brought back here